is really just to get you to a point where you say, you know what, I want to learn more about this. Or if you're ready to move forward, you know what you need to do to move forward. So when they share this information with me, the basics behind their ecosystem is it's blockchain projects that utilize proof of action protocols that tie to real world problems and companies that generate real world revenue. And that's different than most projects in the blockchain space. And if you're new to blockchain, I'll simplify it for you. If you look at the internet as really a way to share information freely without the need of a third party. I remember having to wait for the news to get the weather. You can use your phone and tell me if it's going to rain tomorrow in Puerto Rico, where I'm at. I know there's people, quite a few people from Australia, it looked like they're on the call. I can tell you whether it's going to rain this evening in Australia just through my phone. And so that's the internet allowing that free flow of information. We don't have to wait on that third party. We don't have to wait on the news to get the weather. Blockchain allows the free flow of value between parties, whether it's sending currency. You know, right now I can't wire anybody money. My banks are all closed and I'd have to wait till the morning. If you had a Bitcoin wallet, I get it. I could send you $100 grand, $1 million, whatever the deal is. If we work on a project and I need to send you 100 grand, I could do it within 5-10 minutes if you gave me your Bitcoin wallet. We eliminate the need of that third party. I don't need to get your routing number or account number, any of that stuff. Just give me your wallet ID and I'll ship you out some Bitcoin. And so it creates a much more secure transaction as well than a centralized system like an Amazon or Google or anything like that. Blockchain's been adopted faster than any technology in history. Even Elon Musk says it's a far better way to transfer value than a piece of paper. To participate in our ecosystem, there's a lot of ways to do it, but the two main ones would be to become a node owner or to help others become node owners. And you can do both to maximize your rewards. A node, if you're not familiar, one of the best examples I heard or analogies I heard about it, if you think about a farmer that has a cell phone tower on their land, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, Virgin Mobile, O2, whatever country you're in, I guess there's different providers. But here in the US, I use Verizon. And I've got buddies that have leased their land, piece of their farmland. Verizon doesn't buy their entire farm. It just leases a little parcel of land, builds a tower, and then pays that farmer every single month for hosting their network on the farmland. Our node network is the same. Instead of having to build a big tower, you just buy this software. You can load it on your laptop, load it on a hard drive if you got hard drives. You can load it in the cloud. I use, there's third parties like Voltaire. I use a company called Block Fabric that hosts nodes for a few bucks a month. And they just make sure my computer software is running pretty much 24/7. That way I get rewarded for helping to host the network. And if somebody says, well, I want to buy nodes, I want to buy a bunch of them, you can certainly do that. I always tell folks, this is a long disclaimer. We'll get the video out to everybody. You can pause it, read through all of it. I'll simplify it for you. This is high risk, high reward. If you're purchasing nodes, they generate tokens, cryptocurrency tokens for that project. So Paul has a rideshare project. Think like Uber, but decentralized. And I'll get in depth into that a little bit here in a moment. But you're generating these Rev tokens. And if nobody takes rides on Rev, your tokens are never going to be worth anything. It's like magic internet money that never has any value. But if millions of people or hundreds of millions or billions of people are using our ride share, then you're going to have some significant value in those tokens. And there's no guarantees. None of us have a crystal ball. We can't guarantee anything. So I always tell folks, if you're purchasing software, use common sense. Don't take out a second mortgage to put into cryptocurrency. And I've had friends I had a friend that put 15 million into a cryptocurrency project and lost it all. And it's one thing if he'd have had 500 million and lost 15, but he probably had 16 million and lost 15, which I just wouldn't recommend doing something like that. And even though, I ended up putting in 54 million into these projects over the last 5, 6 months. And I know for, everything's relative. That is a lot of money. Even for me, it's a lot of money. But if things go bad, my life will not change at all. I'll be a little disappointed that things went bad, but I'll still be just fine. Like, business is good. I've got a lot of different companies, a lot of different investments, and everything's relative. Elon Musk put 40-some billion dollars into Twitter, and I'm sure he'll be just fine if things don't ever work out with that, but looks like it's going to. And so use common sense is what I'm getting at. We have a legal team that's second to none. Blockade, they're a decentralized law firm. They manage all the different projects in our ecosystem. I've worked with Daniel Payne, Kat, John. Ken Cuccinelli is the head advisor for Blockade. He was a former attorney general for the state of Virginia, and he was the deputy secretary of Homeland Security for the United States of America for several years. So they're just making sure we're crossing the T's, dotting the I's, coloring inside the lines, doing things the right way in any country we're in. The projects, I'm only going to share a few of them briefly with you. Galvin was one of the projects I was really impressed with. I met Dr. Adam Sharp, CEO of Galvin. He was high up over at Kaiser Permanente. The goal of this blockchain is to give control of our health and wellness, of our health records, of our health information, DNA data to us. Right now, I don't know if you ever tried to get your health records, but you realize pretty quick the hospital probably owns your records and not you. So this allows us to store our health data on the blockchain. We have apps that you can download. It uses Amazon voice inflection data through Alexa, the same AI that Alexa uses. And it can tell you whether you're high energy or low energy compared to your baseline, high stress, low stress. If you're high stress, it can give you things to do to lower your stress levels and reward you for doing it with cryptocurrency. So you get rewarded for being healthier. Long term, we want people to be able to share their health data onto the blockchain anonymously. Let AI aggregate your health data, your DNA data. And if we had enough users, you could pretty much eliminate rare diseases from the planet. If your neighbor's daughter had some rare disease, and this app was big enough, hundreds of millions or billions of users, you'd say, hey, have your daughter download the app, load her health data, load her DNA data. The AI within a nanosecond would assess everything, would say, hey, this is not that rare of a disease she has. There's 4,227 individuals in our database with the exact same symptoms, exact same diagnosis. There's 342 between these two continents that have used this treatment program and had amazing results. AI's recommendation is you share this data with your physician and you let them know the treatment program and see if they're willing to start it. So that's really the goal of the Galvin blockchain. Grow is the agricultural blockchain. I was so impressed when I met Will and his partner Rhett. Imagine being able to know everything you're putting in your body. And maybe that sounds simple, but there's really about 10 companies around the world that control everything we eat. And there's a few conglomerates that are included in these companies, Mondelez, which was Kraft, Kellogg's, General Mills, Unilever, you've got Monsanto, Cargill. And I would argue a lot of times it's more chemicals they're putting in our foods than actual nutrition. And what Grow allows us to do as consumers, imagine ordering a steak at a restaurant, comes out with a QR code, you snap it, and it says, hey, Mike, this is cattle number 1176459 from Royal Ranch Farms in Washington State, certified organic, free-range Angus, never been injected with hormones, never been injected with any steroids, grazed on 1,167.5 pounds of grass during its grazing lifetime. We processed it right here on the farm 27 hours ago, shipped it refrigerated, never been frozen. It's now on your plate for you to enjoy. You eat it. It's one of the best steaks you've ever had. You can use your app and order direct from Royal Ranch Farms. You can get fruits, vegetables. They actually created what's called the Honey Crisp apple, which if you can get your hands on one, it's one of my favorite apples. And literally you can order it direct. It'll be cheaper going direct to the farm than going to your grocery store. And the farm, by cutting out the commodities market, will actually make higher profit margins selling direct to consumer. And so I love that concept. I think there's a lot of people that would love to know what they're putting in their body and every ingredient that goes in there. And I know there's a lot of farmers that would like to control the market instead of having to go with the ebbs and flows of the commodities market. Element is our ethical mining blockchain. Scott Loma, who's a friend of mine, was on Discover Channel show Jungle Gold, and he realized, while they brought a bunch of opportunity, there was also some problems that they brought with them from, unethical mining practices after they left those mines and they were being worked on. They got nervous. Were there, 10-year-old kids, 11-year-old kids being forced to dig for gold, dig for lithium, dig for cobalt after the mine was depleted? Were they just leaving dead land behind? And so we have a blockchain certificate to ensure that there were no children mining, to ensure that after the mine was depleted, that they came behind it with mangrove trees, with farmable soil and backfilled so that land was still usable. And we've partnered with companies like Tiffany's. The 7th most expensive Tiffany's diamond in history is about a mile away from where I live here in Puerto Rico. One of our buddies, and he's a community member on the blockchain space, Tiffany sent them that diamond so they could put it on this Element blockchain, because they've tracked through blockchain already who found that diamond, how old they were when they found it, how long they worked for the company, what happened after that mine was depleted, and how they backfilled and planted mangrove trees. And so they can ensure if it's got our blockchain certificate, it was mined ethically. Switch is one of the reasons I'm here. I was in that meeting in Vegas. I got to meet Kathy Roberts. I knew who she was. I own a credit card processing company that's fairly large. We do about $4 to $5 billion a year in transactions. And I just knew her. She didn't know me. But if you're in that credit card space, she was one of the original founders of Discover Card. And so I had a buddy there with me, and I was just like, hey, whatever she's doing, we better pay real close attention, because she was the president of Discover Bank. She was one of the original founders of Discover Card. She knows way more about banking than probably most people on the planet. And if she's involved in these projects, it's probably something we should be involved in. And they actually were able to get me on the beta for this Switch rewards card, the Switch wallet, the Switch exchange. It's live now, but when I got on the beta, it was just amazing. It was the best cryptocurrency wallet I've ever seen. I was able to use a credit card, purchase crypto. You can do up to 10 grand, no KYC, up to 75 grand with KYC. But I bought like $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and moved it within 5 minutes, sent it to a cold wallet, which maybe if you're not into crypto, doesn't sound like that big of a deal. But if you are into crypto, buy some crypto on Coinbase, biggest exchange in the world, one of the biggest exchanges in the world to buy crypto. You won't be able to move it for 3 weeks probably. So the fact that I moved it in 5 minutes, I was like, well, this is pretty impressive. They had a non-custodial wallet, meaning it was my crypto. What that means, if they went out of business tomorrow, I still have access to all my crypto. I can recover it. I could just grab a cold wallet and get it all back. Versus a custodial wallet, which, if you sent money to Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, that's what's called a custodial wallet, meaning it's not your crypto anymore. Once you sent it to Sam Bankman-Fried, that idiot controlled your crypto. And when he did dumb stuff with it, he lost all of it, And so I love the fact that they had a non-custodial wallet. Now, they did have a custodial wallet, which I always tell people, only move what you're wanting to use into that custodial wallet. Why I loved it is it was the best off-ramp for cryptocurrency I'd ever seen. If you put Ethereum in the custodial wallet or Bitcoin in the custodial wallet, it would be available on your Switch Visa card immediately. So you could go to a restaurant, buy a $100 meal, swipe your Visa card. If you said you wanted to use Bitcoin, it would sell $100 worth of Bitcoin, convert it to USD, and pay off your debit card right then and there. And again, that's probably the biggest problem in the cryptocurrency space is utility. It's not that easy to use. Well, with Switch, you could use Bitcoin, you could use Ethereum, USDT, and you could use it at a restaurant. My mom doesn't know how to send blockchain, Bitcoin to a wallet. No way. But she can use a credit card, no problem. Heck, there's probably 5-year-old kids that can use credit cards, no problem, unfortunately for some of their parents. And so it allowed the best off ramp, the best on ramp. I have nodes in the Grow project as an example. There's a Grow farm 7 minutes from where I live here in Puerto Rico. I can go to that farm, buy steak, bacon, eggs, fruits, vegetables, check out and use my Grow tokens from my nodes that generated them because I help them run their network. Now I can use a credit card, I can use cash, but what a real world use case to be able to. I know Gala Games was cool and all. You could buy a cow on your game and use it to on your farm to create more milk or whatever. As cool as that might be, I think it's way more cool to actually buy a steak and feed my family with cryptocurrency than to have some farm game cow that doesn't really feed anybody. The Rev Rideshare, Paul, obviously kind of opened up our meeting this evening, CEO and founder of Revo Rideshare. This is decentralizing Uber, decentralizing Lyft. And, when we started in the delivery business, the restaurant delivery business, and we built a big business, we did millions of deliveries. Our goal was never to disrupt Uber Eats or DoorDash. Our goal was to sell out to them, which we did. We ended up selling to delivery.com when we merged with them. It was a really good deal, actually. But at the end of the day, I don't think I was delusional enough to think I was going to attack, at that time, a $60 billion company in Uber or a $40 billion company in DoorDash. And that's pretty typical. You don't attack multi-billion-dollar companies head on. However, with the blockchain efficiencies, I don't know if you can not only attack them, I think you've got an advantage against a lot of these big conglomerates. We've already launched. That's the other thing that's great about our ecosystem. So many crypto projects over the years, and I've been involved, won some, lost some, but it's always like a zero-sum game. It's some idea that somebody had, some ICO, which we don't have an ICO. It's all node-based, proof of work, similar to Bitcoin. Ask someone what Bitcoin's ICO was. There wasn't one. They didn't have one. All these crappy projects, this big idea that never comes to fruition. And unfortunately, a lot of them, they never planned on bringing it to fruition. They just wanted to sell the idea, pump up the price of a coin. Maybe you made a bunch of money on a coin, did great. The problem is, what about the person that bought it from you at the high? It's always a zero-sum game there. There's always a winner, there's always a loser, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're already doing rides right now. If you're in Miami, if you're in Palm Beach, Florida, if you're in Jupiter, Florida, if you're in New Orleans, Louisiana, you can take a ride on Rev. And if you take a ride, what's cool is the average rider is paying about 15 to 20% less for the exact same ride through Uber or Lyft. The average driver is making about 30 to 40% more for the exact same ride on Uber and Lyft. So if you could give someone a ride, if you're a driver and you can make $10 or $14, wouldn't you choose 14 for the exact same work, the exact same ride? That's the Web 2 money. That's just the cash you're getting in your pocket, in your ACH, in your Visa card. What about the Web 3 money, the cryptocurrency tokens? See, it's proof of action based on real world revenue generation. So imagine booking a ride, it's $50, but it says, hey, use the Rev token, it's 45. And even if you've never dealt in crypto ever in your life, don't even have a crypto wallet, no big deal. Because of Switch, you can buy that token with your credit card. One click, buy it with your credit card, check out. Now instead of $50 for the ride, you pay 45. When you get in the car, because that's a revenue generating activity, you get tokens. You get rewarded for that. When I pick you up, if I'm your driver, I get tokens for accepting the ride and picking you up. When I drop you off, if you tip me, you get tokens. We want to incentivize tipping good drivers. If I get a tip, I must have been a good driver. I get more rewards and tokens as well. If you give me a rating, you get tokens. If you give me a 5-star rating, I get more tokens. And vice versa. If I give you a big rating, you get tokens, I get tokens for doing the rating. Now, once you are getting those tokens, maybe your next ride, you're at the restaurant, you need a ride home. What if you could just use your tokens to pay for the ride? It's almost like airline miles, or I use Amex points to pay for anything I order on Amazon. I haven't paid money in years for something on Amazon because I just attached my Amex, and we, some of our businesses use Amex. We use them personally. So it's like we have millions of points. And so every time we check out from Amazon, it's $0.00. It just uses the points. And so we're trying to incentivize and basically pay people to use our rideshare. Pay people double, like you're paying them real money, and then you're paying them magic internet money. But if a lot of people start using our rideshare, imagine giving someone a ride and making $14, but then getting, let's say you got $1 or $10 worth of tokens. Not that big of a deal. But then 6 months later, there's millions of riders, and all of a sudden that $10 is worth 200. So you did that ride, made 14 bucks, but if you held on to your tokens and then sold them 6 months later, now could 6 months later those tokens be worth zero? Absolutely. That's the risk. There's no guarantees here. But if we can build a successful rideshare business and there's real world revenue generation, those tokens should have some pretty good real world value. The last project I'll share is called Rally. It's our video conferencing software. It should be set to launch May 1st. That'll be the last, pretty much, the end of April will be the last Zoom meeting or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams meeting I ever do. And when you think about it, no one's really that loyal to these providers. Imagine if you could use a video conferencing software and get paid to do it. I would never do another Zoom for the rest of my life. I would never let somebody send me a link to a Google Meet or a Microsoft. I'd be like, no. Let me send you my link, because I get paid to use my link. And I'll show you how to get paid to use your link as well. And I would just build the ecosystem. I wouldn't be surprised if within the first few weeks of launch, if we don't have 1 million people using our meeting software. It's going to be game changing, because we're incentivizing people to use a service that they're already using now, but they're not getting anything for it. So adding that reward should be able to shake up the marketplace. If you're interested in what we're doing, it starts for free. Whoever invited you onto tonight's webinar, you can literally get a link from them, sign up, get a free smart wallet, start generating rewards immediately, and start introducing others to get that smart wallet as well. If you really want to participate in the ecosystem, I would say grab at least one win node. There's a coupon right now that's going on. It should last the rest of the month, but you can get that win node all in for $500, and that helps run the sales and marketing side of the network. You could also grab other project nodes depending on what project you're most interested in. I looked at the projects I thought I could move the needle in the most. I knew I could build a successful rideshare business. I knew I could build a successful software business in the video conferencing space. So I went pretty heavy in those projects. I love the idea of being healthier. I love the idea of knowing what I was putting in my body through Grow. I love the idea of the best crypto wallet and exchange I'd ever seen with Switch. So I did purchase a lot of the different nodes, but I looked at the ones I think that I could move the most, and that's where I kind of went heaviest. What are you most interested in? Which projects get you the most excited? And those are the projects you'd probably want to focus on. Our node network generates a total payout of 70% through the network, and blockchain technology timing is perfect. I know in 2021, the World Economic Forum said that blockchain is set to disrupt over $867 trillion in traditional markets. I heard recently, this was 2021, I just heard over the last few weeks, they put the number now at like 1.3 quadrillion, which is you don't use that word very often. Maybe I was on the playground in like second grade the last time I probably used the word quadrillion, but here it's legitimate. Like, it will be the largest shift of wealth and the largest opportunity, maybe not only of our lifetimes, but it'll definitely be the biggest in the history of the planet, but maybe for the history of the planet. I don't know if there'll be another disrupting technology that will disrupt 1.3 quadrillion or 867 trillion. To get started, it's pretty simple. Sign up for a free account, go through your compliance training, figure out what projects are your favorite, purchase some nodes in those projects, or sell 5 win nodes and they'll give you one free one, and you can start creating a massive community. I'm going to wrap up with compensation real quick. I want you to know how you can go out and take advantage of this project. It pays out a couple different ways. USDT, which is pretty much US dollars right away, that pays daily. And so you can make money to pay your bills, put food on the table, gas in the car, keep a roof over your head. Certainly you can do that right away. But there's also those token rewards that if we pull this off, and that's the big question, can we do it? And if we can, and you get a bunch of those token rewards, it could be life-changing for you if we end up pulling it off. Comp plan is pretty simple. It starts with win. I would tell people grab a win node. A lot of people will get 5 of them. There's an algorithm that gives you points to basically be one of the top community builders and members. And it shares all the revenue every day. Pretty much 10% of the total revenue every single day is shared with the top community builders, top 50,000, top 5,000, top 500, and top 50. So if you get a win node, it's annual renewal, but the win node so far in its history, no one's ever had to take money out of their pocket to renew. It generates enough rewards that it pays for its own renewal. Now, that's not guaranteed either, but it's been doing it for several years, and I imagine it'll keep doing it, but that's the beauty of it. I guess if it didn't, I might not want to renew anyways. But the other projects, the nodes are lifetime. You get them one time, you got them forever. They're getting ready to NFT all of them. You can sell it through our internal marketplace now, but pretty soon they'll be NFT'd. All of our tokens, all of our blockchains, I mean, you could bridge them over to ERC20, move them on PancakeSwap, Uniswap, SushiSwap, MetaMask. You know, if you're not into crypto, that's all weird words, but people that are into crypto understand what that stuff is. And the node prices increase for every 100 nodes sold. They pretty much go up $100. So we got 2 new projects with Rev and Rally that are selling at $2,500 each. That's what they started at. That's the lowest price they'll ever be at, pretty much. There's already been several hundred of those nodes sold in pre-launch in the first couple days that they were available. So we're holding the price through the 5th of the month. Now, after that, it'll go up, depending on how many are sold, it'll go up accordingly. So this would be the cheapest those nodes will ever be. As far as comp plan, there's 3 different levels. We're looking to add a couple more for folks because we have a lot of leaders that are coming in building some pretty big organizations, and we want to incentivize them to help their teams grow. This does already. There's Droid. That's coming in, getting a Win Smart node. Blockbot, which is basically selling 5 Win Smart nodes. And then there's Blockbot node, which is basically you have 5 Blockbots in your team would help you get to Blockbot node. And there's different rewards at each different level. There's sales reward. There's what's called a 10% transaction reward. You bring me in, I buy some nodes, you get 10%. There's a confirmation reward. If you're running nodes, bring me in, you get 10% transaction reward. You could also get the confirmation reward. So now you're making 20%, potentially off the transaction and the confirmation. The first block bot, that's 10%. And then there's what's called the second block bot. So if you're a droid, you're making 10% transaction reward. If you're a block bot, you're getting the 10% transaction reward, 10% block bot reward as well. So that's 20%. And as you bring in people, you can make a 10% override off that block bot 10% as a block bot 1. So somebody comes in and buys a win node. If you're the transaction and it's direct sale, that's 10% to you. If you're the first block bot, another 10%, that's 20%. The node confirmation, let's say that's above you, 10% there. And then there's the block bot 2, the second block bot in the line. I don't want to get too in-depth into the comp, but there's a reason to help your people grow. As a block bot node, you get what's called a 5% open line down to the next block bot node. So if you had a line of 1,000 people and there were no block bot nodes in it, you'd be making 5% off all of them all the way down. If I was 120 levels below you in that leg and I got to block bot node, then I would cut your 5% off. You would still make a 3% override below though. So you'd still get that override. And then if someone under me, let's say Paul got to block bot node, he would cut off that 3% from you, but you would still make 2% all the way down to the next block bot. That's what we call a generational override. This would be a second generation override in that example. And then if finally somebody under Paul got to block bot, eventually it would cut you off just on this part of the comp plan. As far as the blockchain side with the rewards, it's pretty much points based and it runs infinitely down. There's node operator rewards. Basically, for running your nodes, 10% of the daily revenue is shared to people that are running nodes. And then we've got the win score ranking distribution, meaning how much are you helping the community grow? How many people are you bringing into the community? How many nodes are those people moving? If you're in the top 50,000, they split 2.5% of the daily revenue with you. Top 5,000, 2.5%. Top 500, 2.5%. And if you're in the top 50, which is getting tougher and tougher to get into the top 50, you get 2.5% of the daily revenue. 70% total payout on the blockchain. Everything runs through the node network. There's no owners here. That's the other thing that's so different, and I love it. There's no ego. It's community owned, community run.